it seems that Xbox Game Pass, or at least the idea of Microsoft introducing their own first-party games day and date into Game Pass, has got some retailers really upset, and they hate the idea of that. In fact, some of them say it'll kill them outright. What is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. And if you missed it, posted a couple videos yesterday, one about my experience in Sea of Thieves, as well as the whole rumor situation about Microsoft potentially acquiring EA, Valve, and or PUBG. Check those videos out when you got the time. And this video was requested by a subscriber, so here you go. I already kind of talked about this before when that Austrian retailer Gameware was like, we're done. We're not stocking any more Xbox products. It's not going to make us any more money. They don't care about us. I did a separate video about that because, mom and pop stores, I understand why. They don't really sell a lot. They're in a region, Austria, which doesn't sell a lot of Xbox stuff anyways, so I get it. I thought maybe it was more a publicity thing, but I get it. It's not here in the United States or the UK, so I understand. But then, GamesIndustry.biz, who's based in the UK, they come out with an article yesterday, and they interviewed a whole slew of different independent game stores about the idea of Xbox Game Pass. And this article, which is really well done, is extremely long. You can see here, it is a long article, and it interviews a lot of different people who work in the independent game market in the UK, and none of them have anything good to say about Game Pass. And the ones who kind of do feel that it won't affect them that much, they take shots at Microsoft. So some of the stuff in here is really eye-opening, right? But some of the stuff here is just kind of, I think people are just trying to hate on the idea of Game Pass just to hate on it. Particularly when you read this stuff, essentially it's made our Xbox business worthless overnight. You got a whole section there, and why would people buy secondhand games when they can just pay $10 and get a massive catalog of titles to keep it going? You see, my issue with that right there is Game Pass has been around since June. They didn't really come out with any sort of statement or articles all the way back in June, because Xbox Game Pass, there's 160 titles in Xbox Game Pass. The majority of them are 360 games. I think there's 80 360 games, 65 Xbox One games that are older. In fact, a lot of the previous games with gold titles are in Xbox Game Pass. There wasn't really anything new being put in there. So he's talking about how he has this secondhand section where you pay a certain amount, but he should have been saying this last year when they announced the program. And I think the idea that everybody is going to subscribe to this is ludicrous. Yeah, it's a great deal for the consumer. You subscribe for $10 and you have access to over 150 games, including Microsoft's first-party games, which they're going to release 3 to 4 a year. But the idea that everybody is going to subscribe, that nobody is going to go to a store and want to pick up a game or own a game, is absolutely ludicrous. We don't even know if this is going to be a success. I know Phil has mentioned that in previous articles or interviews that Game Pass is doing extremely well, but they won't give any numbers, so we don't know how well. There's supposedly 35 million Xbox One consoles out there sold. Who knows how many Xbox Live members? Well, obviously, it can only really be 35 million Xbox One Live members at the most, because Game Pass isn't on 360. So at the most, you're looking at 35 million, maybe a tad bit more on the PC, but not everybody's going to subscribe to this service. Even if you advertise something on the dashboard like Game Pass, doesn't mean people are going to be like, yeah, that's a good value for me. Someone could look into the Game Pass, see what's there, and realize there's nothing of value. For me, even though I'm subscribed to Game Pass, I don't particularly use it very much because I have no interest in half of the games there because they're 360 games, and the other ones I already own outright or I have no interest in playing. Microsoft made a smart decision by putting their first-party games in the service, and it will get more interest into it, but still, I don't really see a lot of people suddenly stopping to go to stores to buy games because we don't know how many people are going to subscribe to this out of the 35 million that potentially have it. So I don't really get his statement there about the secondhand games, considering the secondhand games were there originally back when they announced it back in June. But I do get it about why should they support them and sell their consoles and accessories if they're going to get very little out of it. I completely 100% agree on that. The retailer, Microsoft-Sony relationship, they need each other. Sony and Microsoft need these retailers to sell their consoles, so then Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo can sell the games to them. Now, previously, before this gen, it basically was the retailer sold the games and the consoles and the accessories, but now it's kind of shifted. The move to digital, so now it's almost a direct-to-sale. Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo, well, maybe not so much Nintendo, are making that direct-to-sale consumer by offering digital games, which really eat into the retailer margin. And if the retailers don't want to stock it because there's no profit in it, then don't stock it. And I get that. So Microsoft would have to make it worth their while. They said they'll go where they're supported, which is Sony. And hey, that's if Sony wants to do it and support them, then they'll do it. There's some other little quotes here that, like the idea that they're going to kill the secondhand market. I reckon even the public won't like it in the end. I sold a Monster Hunter this morning and the bloke already bought it back. I've seen a lot of this talked about how this will kill the secondhand market, and that potentially could come true. I think digital games is more of a shot at the secondhand market than Game Pass is. For Game Pass to truly kill the secondhand market, there has to be more than just Microsoft games new in the Game Pass. And it has to be more than just Microsoft offering it. Sony would have to come up with their own Game Pass. Nintendo would have to come up with their own Game Pass. Because like I said, unless third parties get all up in this and offer their games day one in Game Pass, like Ubisoft, EA's, Activision's, if it's only just Microsoft's, how does that kill the secondhand market? If the games added to Game Pass are just older games that you can buy for $10 to $15, people are still going to want to buy all the new third-party exclusives that come out on Xbox. I mean, hell, they just built the Xbox One X to be the best console ever made, primarily because the Xbox is a multi-platform machine, but the multi-platform games that launch aren't going to be in Game Pass. So unless Game Pass becomes this runaway success, where in a year from now they're saying they have 20 million people subscribing to Game Pass, and Ubisoft and EA and all these other companies decide to change their position, and instead of just launching a retail version, a digital version, they also put it in Game Pass, then this might take years upon years to happen. I get the concern, because if that is your primary revenue driver, similar to GameStop, then I get it. You're looking at this and you're looking in the future like, if this takes on, if things change, this could kill us. I mean, you always got to be looking ahead. But until the point where Microsoft announces that Ubisoft games are coming day one to Game Pass, I don't see how this kills the secondhand market. And Sony's not doing it yet either. And neither is Nintendo. So you still have two other companies who still sell tons of games and have tons of games that come out aren't doing it. So I think that's a little bit, the sky is falling, Chicken Little. I mean, hell, right here, this guy says Game Pass will have an effect on all first-party titles, which, of course, I believe. Clearly, he says they're not going to stock Sea of Thieves because other supermarketers will throw it out for less. Online retailers will break street date and all that stuff. Yeah, I think it will have a huge impact on Microsoft first-party games. That is clear. So if these people do want to stock less of them, I mean, that's why they take pre-orders in the first place, so they can gauge how much interest there is in the game. But do you see what I'm kind of talking about? It's only going to affect first party slightly because the first party games are there. How is it going to affect everything else? There's no new third party games in Game Pass. So there would be no effect on that. It's only going to affect Microsoft's first party. So I find it kind of hyperbolic for all these ones to say, oh my god, they just killed us outright. Like, we don't know, like 80% or whatever number it is of game sales on Xbox are basically third party or new third party games. I mean, come on now. People still want box product, but with the price of an Xbox Game Pass, how long would they continue to do so? If Sony and Nintendo were to follow suit, it's game over. And that I 100% agree with. If Sony and Nintendo were to follow the similar trajectory of Microsoft with Game Pass, yes. Then all this kind of ire would be justified because the writing would be on the wall. But for now, it's just Microsoft and it's just Sony. I mean, it's just Microsoft and it's just their 3 games a year. That's it. All this ire, all this sky is falling, we're done, it's over, is basically over Crackdown 3, State of Decay, and Sea of Thieves, with maybe Forza Horizon 4 put in. Because that's all that's coming out this year. Nobody knows if this is even a success yet. I mean, I'm sure Microsoft hopes it is, but that doesn't, there's going to be a new Battlefield this year. There's a new Far Cry. These games aren't there. Like, to kind of go into this and just be like, we're closing shop now is a little bit premature. Now, I get it, like I said, from the Austrian point of view. Xbox doesn't sell there anyways, so you might as well just stop. But some of this stuff is just kind of, like, Microsoft hasn't killed off box game sales overnight. Of course, that's what I'm saying. But it certainly put a dent in the business. I kind of agree with that to a certain extent. Maybe a super small dent. But it hasn't killed physical games. What's killing physical games is digital. People are just more shifting to digital, and all 3 platforms are doing it. So Game Pass is kind of just this thing just sitting in the wings, waiting, getting bigger. And maybe when it grows to this huge size where you have 30 million subscribers and third-party games are actually in their day and date, then all this stuff would be like, yeah, it's justified. But digital is killing physical, not Xbox Game Pass. Like this other quote here, we will only support manufacturers and publishers support us. If a customer comes into a retail store and the retailer has a choice between selling an Xbox where they never sell them anything again, or a PS4 where they had a chance of some attach rate, they would silly sell them a PlayStation. Like, I get that. Marketing deals, PlayStation has a lot of them. But the idea that if a customer comes in and wants an Xbox, but you talk them out of it because you feel there's never a chance that you'll sell them anything Xbox ever again, is insane because, as I've been reiterating time and time again, it's only the first-party games that are there. Someone would be coming to Xbox or coming to the store to buy Monster Hunter for the Xbox or Dragon Ball Z or any of the new games that are coming out, and it's a third-party game. It's not first-party, so you can tell them something later. And this idea that it's just like a lot of these retailers, to me, like the gnashing of teeth, the sky is falling, really reminds me of when Blockbuster was going out of business, or when Borders was going out of business, when the market shifted from physical movies to digital and streaming, or from physical books to basically, digital books. All these retailers, if you recall, were like, people love Blockbuster. People love to go in on Friday nights and peruse the aisles to see what's available. There's a certain rush you would get when you would go to see if your favorite new movie was available and it was out of stock. It was like date night. You recall those articles? They said the same thing. People were like, "Oh, this would destroy the movie industry if Blockbuster goes away overnight. Nobody's gonna watch movies." And yet everything's perfectly fine. The market transitioned. Same things with books. Hell, the same thing with CDs. I remember when CD stores were going out of business and they said it would kill the music industry. But it didn't. It just transformed into a different market. I mean, hell, do you guys remember when Best Buy used to have a dedicated CD section that was absolutely huge? Not anymore. You kind of got to go with the market sometimes. And right now, these retailers, I get it. It's your lifeblood. It's your business. You need to be protective of it, especially since you're independent. These aren't huge, big chain like GameStop or Best Buy or Amazon. So you got to fight for what's yours. And maybe they are looking 10 years into the future and they see that this is the end. But for right now, Xbox Game Pass doesn't kill anything. Because it's like 3 new games adding to the service that are Microsoft only. There are hundreds upon hundreds of third-party games that are coming out new into Game Pass that have no effect on this. So I think it's a little bit premature. I think it's a little bit of retailers gnashing, gnawing, seeing that the industry that they're in is basically going the way of CDs and movies and books, and they're trying to fight against this. And that's kind of my take on it. So for the person who wanted this video made, I hope you enjoyed it. For the rest of you, if you really enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Make sure you share this out on Twitter and social media, as it greatly helps out. I really appreciate every single one of you who watches the videos and comments. Make sure you leave your comment below. Tell me what you think about all this. And I'll see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.